Welcome aboard BioTruck Sailing. We are Pierre, Lisa, and Tiller, now sailing in French Polynesia in the South Pacific. Subscribe to join our adventures, and we always appreciate your comments to help us make this channel better. Hello and welcome to BioTruck Sailing. We're in beautiful Nuku'hiva, as you can see from the mountains behind me. And this video is going to be about our sail to Nuku'hiva. We're going to start off with our trip from Fakarava, where we were waiting for wind. Our windlass is broken and we had to replace the windlass. We went to Makemo, where a whale surfaced right in front of the boat. And then we had a fairly uneventful 3-day upwind sail to Nuku'hiva, but not the best conditions. And I hope you enjoy sailing along with us. And stay to the end of the video to see some extra footage. And I also talk a little bit about cerebral cavernous malformation, which is a vascular brain tumor, and it could be silently lurking in your brain. And it's just good to know about what they are and how they're diagnosed in case someone in your family is diagnosed with one. It often happens quite unexpectedly. Sail along with us as we take our voyage from the Tuamotus to the Marquesa Island on our landing in Nuku'hiva. You may remember that in the last episode, we were in Fakarava waiting for a weather window to sail northeast to the Marquesas, and also our windlass broke. We had a clever way to raise the windlass without having to use some muscle, and we received a new windlass, and the first order of business was to get that installed. We dropped anchor in Harifa and then used one of the other winches to hold the chain while the windlass was being installed by Pierre. I think he's done this before. It only took him a couple hours, even though it was a different brand of windlass and needed a bit of fiddling. Friends on the sailing vessels Jamala and Ticket to Ride were in the same anchorage with us and waiting for a weather window also, so the vessel showed up, Hogar, which is actually the support vessel for the larger ship Lonian. They set up a picnic on the beach for their guests, but they weren't very popular with the cruisers or the locals. It's a public beach, and that's where people go to learn to use a wing or to kite. And some of the locals that lived nearby weren't happy because the music started at 6 a.m. They left just before Christmas, so we had a peaceful Christmas. Merry Christmas, Tiller! We're just having a nice little day in the anchorage. We're training Tiller because she took to jumping in the water after fish without being invited, and she can't get out by herself. So now she knows she's not allowed to go down the ladder on this side. Right, Tiller? You stay there. You know you're not allowed. And come over here, Tiller. We have a barrier up there just to remind her she's not allowed down the steps. This is the side we usually swim on, and we had this door made when she was a puppy, and we've got the puppy door back up. Now, of course, she can jump over that door. Can't you, Tiller? You can jump over that door, but it's a physical reminder that she's not allowed down the steps without being invited anymore. There's just too many remoras, and it's too tempting, and she found out that they're afraid of her, so she's been jumping in the water and chasing them. Chasing remora is one thing, but if there's a shark that's going to come, I don't think that chase is going to go very well. So we were training her now that she's not even allowed to go down to the lower steps unless she's invited. As a postscript, Tiller is now trained, and we haven't had an episode of her jumping in by herself. Right. Just keep you close. Here in the Marquesas, the water is deep and not clear, and Tiller seems to know that there are things bigger than her in the water because she won't swim unless one of us is in the water with her. Before leaving the Tuamotus, we had one more dive on the South Pass, and we snorkeled on the west side of the pass, which was really quite different from the east side. This is not a remora, but it's a cornet fish catching a ride with this Napoleon wrasse. After our dive trip, we went back to the Amiti Lodge for dinner before we would take off and leave this beautiful area of the Tuamotus. And I was interested in the black noddy that they had rescued. It had fallen out of its nest. This is a seabird, and they'd been feeding it for 10 days now with little fish and squid. It's not yet able to fly, despite its large size. One of the things that we got done while we were here is a solar panel installation. I'll tell you more about that solar panel installation once we get to the Marquises. We got half done, and then the weather changed, and everybody was getting ready to head to their destination further east. It was bumpy as we left the pass. We left in the late afternoon, and it was going to be an overnight sail so that we could arrive at the pass in Makemo in the morning with good light. Makemo was going to be our stop as we waited for another change in the weather before we proceeded to Marquises. We entered the pass in early morning. We took down our sails before we entered the pass. Our sail had been a little faster than predicted, and we arrived before slack tide, so there was still a very strong outward current. On our arrival on the other side of the pass, we had a beautiful rainbow. We've been to Makemo before, so we could follow our previous track, but we still keep a close watch. Hope you may watch. We anchored in a spot we'd been to before, and the first order of business was that Pierre checked the anchor, and I watched him swim by through the porthole. Next thing to do is to have a nap, because it's always tiring after an overnight sail. No! Okay, here's what that commotion is about, because I called my sister and explained it to her this way. So I was lying here, like this is my view, okay? And I'm propped up on the pillow, and I can't sleep. And all of a sudden I hear this whoosh, and I look up, and there's this black monster right in front of me. A whale breached, like 2 feet behind the boat. Like I don't even know kind of well, because I was half asleep. All I saw was this black thing, like the whole side, taking up the whole back of the boat. It was amazing. And of course, Tiller starts barking. She can't see it because she's under the table, but she hears the whoosh. And I realize, oh no, that's a whale. And I run and get my camera. And now it's behind the boat, but the deck's so hot, I have to run and get my sandals. By the time I got my sandals, I have some pictures of fins and tails, but it was already kind of far away. And if you know what kind of whale it is, please put it in the comments below. Sunrise over Makemo. Tiller's looking for fish, but she's staying up where she's supposed to be and not going to the transom. We went to the main town, which is near the East Pass, while we waited for our weather window the next day. Goodbye, Makemo. We headed out the pass. There were variable winds, and we put up the full mainsail and Genoa. We had to motor sail much of the first day because the winds were fickle and light. The moon out already. It's dark out here. We got a good moon, but there's a lot of clouds. It's just a little storm going through. The winds picked up on the second day. When I got up in the morning, Pierre had taken out the reef, and the wind was variable, but it started to go up. It went up as high as 20. And he wanted to sleep. He told me if it goes up to 20, wake him up. but then we decided, okay, if it goes 15 steady, we'll reef, because it was pretty uncomfortable. It's pretty rough. So he just got up, it's steady at 15, and we've just taken a reef. I should have had my GoPro on to show you what it looks like, but the front hook always goes in all right. The back hook, we had to go up front to tighten the topping lift, and then the back hook would go in. But we have this hook system for our reefs so that we don't have to go up front. But usually, you know, we do have to go up front for the cleat and sometimes for the topping lift, but we're not messing around with the reef lines at the front of the mast. And it's a beautiful bright day, so no problem. And that's why we always reef our one reef at night before the sun goes down, because putting in the reefs sometimes goes smoothly, usually goes smoothly, but sometimes not. I'd like to pause here to tell you about cavernous angiomas. My goal is to help bring awareness for this disease. If you wish to donate, the link is in the comments below, or go to the BioTruck website. Small amounts of even $1 make a huge difference when many people participate. Stay to the end for the rest of our trip and for some extra content on reefing.
Welcome. I'm Connie Lee, President and CEO of Angioma Alliance. Cavernous angiomas are abnormal blood vessels in the brain and spinal cord that resemble mulberries. They can hemorrhage and cause seizures and strokes at any age, even in children. They are often disabling and sometimes fatal. 1 in 500 people has a cavernous angioma lesion, but most don't even know it. And brain and spinal surgery are the only treatment. We have thousands of members joined in a community, united and motivated. A few have even participated in clinical drug trials. Today we're at a tipping point. We have momentum, and together we can reach the goal. There will be better treatments by 2025.
Well, with that diversion, now we're back to night watch, and sometimes the nights seem very long. Just about sunrise, and I just got pair up so we can avoid the storm that's coming. We went through a little one, but yeah, morning storms. We had slowed down the boat because the waves were too square and we were just banging into them. George just turned on the motors. He's going into the wind to go off course to try and go around those storms. Good wind to be sailing, just in time. I turned on Pavarotti singing Christmas carols, but the wire for the microphone fell off the camera, so I didn't catch Pierre in action. We should have taken down the courtesy flags before sailing upwind. Got our reefing just in time. Wind speed's gone up to 30 knots. We sacrificed some speed for pointing angle, but who says cats can't go upwind? We show putting in the reef at night at the end of the video. We thought the vertical white line was a waterfall, but when we went past it in dive boat several days later, it's just a rock formation. Arrival in a new place is always very special. New sights, new smells, new people to meet. And when you're sailing around the world, the journey is an important part of the experience. Every sail is different, and even night watches are to be remembered. Some people have asked me, what do you do on night watch? What I've been doing lately is I've been following Music Student 101. This is a great podcast given by Jeremy Burns and Matthew Scott Phillips. They know a lot about theory and they kind of have a lot of banter that's fun, so that keeps me awake. And I learned music theory. They had one on unusual rhythms, and they often give examples. So the one that sticks out that I remember that was really, kind of fun is Pink Floyd's Money, which is a 7/4 signature. And so when you hear it, bum bum ba bum 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 ba bum 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 bum, you can actually sit and listen to music and count it out and say, hey, that's cool, Come on, you have to stay inside. What? You got what? It was alive? It hit you? It hit you? Oh, so you rescued it. Okay, cleat. There goes. You stay there. You stay there, you little rascal. Coming. That's where we're aiming. I can see the just in time. It went up to 30 knots. It's still 23. Ta-da. Yep, this cat can go upwind. So friends, enjoy, stay safe, and until the next video, we'll see you then.